Hello, everyone. This is for the Bachelor of Arts third year students of Psychology, Semester 5. The course code is PSD 102, and the course title is Health Psychology. And within this, the unit that we're looking at today is that of chronic illnesses. The module name for this is diabetes. So, in today's lecture, we're going to look at each of these facets of diabetes. We'll go over the types, causes, risk factors, health implications, what factors need to be accounted for in psychosocial aspects, and what is it or how is it when you have a diabetic child or adolescent. At the end of this lecture, you should be able to describe the types of diabetes and the probable causes. You should be able to elaborate on psychosocial aspects of care for diabetes and outline some important facets for providing care for a diabetic child or adolescent. So let's begin. So, diabetes is the common name, but the technical name for this is diabetes mellitus, right? Usually denoted with the abbreviation of DM. So, this is a condition wherein there is a presence of high levels of glucose in the blood system, right? So, usually in common parlance, people say that they have too much sugar in the blood. It relates to or it refers to high levels of glucose in the blood. As far as the prevalence of this disorder is concerned, you have nearly 9.3% of adults within the age range of 20 to 79 years worldwide who are living with this condition. When it comes to types of diabetes, there are mainly two types. So you have type 1 and type 2, very easily or very simply classified. But there's a lot of difference in both of these types. In type 1, it's a problem with your immunity. There's an autoimmune process which inhibits insulin production by the pancreas. So, insulin is that part of a physiology which actually reduces or keeps our glucose levels in check. So, when your immune system is inhibiting, so it is lessening or providing some kind of a roadblock for the production of insulin, then your glucose levels tend to increase. This type of diabetes usually develops in childhood or adolescence. So it's something hereditary, right? People are usually born with it. This is not acquired. And caring for a person who has type 1 diabetes means that they have to repeatedly, throughout their life, keep taking insulin injections. So, because their pancreas are not able to produce natural insulin, they have to inject insulin into the system to lessen the amount of glucose levels. The next type of diabetes mellitus is type 2. This is the one which is the most common that we see around us. When you hear of someone within our family or within our known circles as having contracted diabetes or having been diagnosed with diabetes, this is the one that we're usually referring to. So it's most prevalent after the age of 40. And what happens here is that there is constant insulin production, but the bodies somehow tend to resist the effects of the insulin. So even though there is insulin in the system, the bodies are not able to, or they do not use it to reduce the levels of glucose. This type of diabetes can be managed by diet and medication. So here there's no need of injecting insulin because you're already producing insulin. Here what is needed is you monitor your diet, you focus on your health, your exercise aspect, and you take your requisite medications. So what are the risk factors which make someone more likely to contract diabetes mellitus? Right? One is heredity. So, if there is past history of diabetes within your family, then you are at heightened risk for having diabetes yourself. If you consume too much of diet which is very rich in fat and sugar, and if you look around you, you'll realize that most of the processed foods that we eat today are already they possess so much of high content of fat and sugar, right? So this puts everybody at risk. If you are prone to be stressful for longer duration, or if you experience negative emotions, then also you're likely to be at heightened risk for diabetes. Why this happens is because when your body is under stress, the body releases different types of hormones, one of them being cortisol. Cortisol inhibits insulin, right? It acts against insulin, and because insulin is not able to do its job, you have heightened levels of glucose levels in your system. Smoking is another risk factor. So, if you have individuals who smoke a lot consistently over long periods of their lives, then they are at high risk for having diabetes. So, now let's look at how is it that diabetes can, or what kind of effects can diabetes have on our health. So, one drastic effect that can have is called neuropathy, which is a type of a nerve disease. So in neuropathy, there is destruction of your myelin sheath, right? If you remember your diagrams that you learned about the neuron, right? You'll realize that there's some kind of coating that each of our neuron has, which is the myelin sheath, which provides some kind of insulation for the neurons to do its job properly. So when this insulation is hampered, or it's disfigured or damaged, then you have nerve diseases, which can happen in diabetes. Going on, you may also have individuals who develop blindness or kidney disease or even gangrene. So one of the things that diabetes does is that its wounds don't tend to heal as quickly for a diabetic as compared to a non-diabetic. So often, if someone has some sort of a wound on their legs and it does not heal, then gangrene can set in, which can lead to amputation of that limb. And you also have heart diseases, strokes, and even death, which can occur because of diabetes. So now let's look at some of the psychosocial factors which needs to be taken into account when you're caring for diabetes or for someone who has diabetes. So the thing to understand about diabetes is that it's not a short-lived illness or a condition. Once someone has diabetes, it's over a long stretch of time, right? A number of years at the very least. So it's long lasting in that manner. And diabetes care is complex and demands a lot of lifestyle changes that need to be made. How a diabetic adheres to care management also depends on the kind of support they receive and how confident they feel about managing their own diabetes. So that's self efficacy. So that's self efficacy, which is also important. Coping for stress, emotional distress, and depression are also important aspects when it comes to managing diabetes. As it goes without saying, even negative mood and the way your daily activities are disrupted can interfere or can make someone less likely to follow the protocols needed for diabetes care. Now let's look at when the diabetic is a child or an adolescent, what are the different things that need to be considered? Because usually you have this happening in the cases of type 1 diabetes, right? Since it's something that happens naturally, you have children or adolescents who develop type 1 diabetes. Normal life is very stressful for individuals like this and for the families as well because they need to do regular blood testing at home, which means having to take blood samples on a regular basis and using an appropriate amount of insulin injections on a day to day basis multiple times a day. So just think about that. The child may not understand what's happening because for a child this may be part of the growing up process, right? And it's difficult for the child to realize that others are not doing the same thing or they're not going through the same process that they are going. So they may feel that their parents are being overly strict, for example, right? And they have to follow rigid eating patterns, right? Other children can perhaps skip a meal or so. A diabetic child or adolescent cannot skip any meal. But as the child grows up, they can take on more responsibility of self care, which makes it slightly easier to manage the condition. So when they're growing up, parents usually tend to take a step back in the management of their diabetic care, or management of health care for their child, but this can lead to lower adherence in care management for adolescent. And this can happen also because as an adolescent, you're going through such a life changing process, and your need for autonomy and independence can lead to non compliance when it comes to diabetic care. Plus, you also have peer pressure to worry about. So, in summary, type 1 and type 2 diabetes affects a lot of people across the world. There are certain risk factors which we need to pay attention to avoid the likelihood of being diabetic. And caring for someone who has diabetes relies heavily on social support and self efficacy. These are your references. Thank you.